When we last saw the American Le Mans Series, BMW was celebrating a victory at Charlotte. The Tour moved overseas in May to the Silverstone circuit in England, where again the sleek white BMW graced the winner's circle, running a near flawless race after most of its rivals encountered problems. June brought the famed Le Mans 24-hour race in France. Audi avoided the pitfalls of racing twice around the clock, combining a lightning-fast new car with unprecedented preparation to sweep the top 3 spots in the world's most famous sports car race. Then it was on to Germany in the Nürburgring. Rain created treacherous track conditions that got the best of the favored Audis and the BMWs. Jan Magnussen made a brilliant drive for Team Panoz to score the victory. Back in the U.S. 2 weeks ago, Audi returned to form at Sears Point, with Alan McNish blazing to a commanding win by a full lap over the field. Now it's the historic Mosport circuit in Canada next. Coverage of the American Le Mans Series resumes today north of the border in Canada. It's the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport, where the exotic $1 million sports cars from makes like Audi, BMW, Porsche, and Dodge will be wheeled by top drivers from throughout the United States and countries around the world. Hi, Alan Bestwick here, about 70 miles to the east of Toronto at Mosport International Raceway, where the American Le Mans Series today reaches the midway point of its 2000 campaign. And the chase for the Series championship has been quite interesting so far. BMW drivers Jorg Muller and JJ Leto lead the standings, but it's the drivers from 5th place Frank Biela on down that have everyone's attention. They are the drivers for the mighty Audi team that have been holding everyone's rapt attention of late. My partner for the call of today's race is Bill Adam, a man who knows this racetrack so very well. Mosport, a place he's run many races at over the years, including this one back in 1983 when he drove this Jaguar to victory with teammate Bob Tullius. A very happy day for Adam. Now, the haircut's a little different today, but the racetrack is much the same. Welcome.
I couldn't afford one back then.
Yeah, there you go.
This is a very special place, and I'll tell you, right now, Audi is the car to beat. This is a supremely well-engineered car, a well-oiled team, and it is blindingly fast with great reliability. And maybe one of the real strengths of this car all season long has been its ability to absorb bumps. It just is superior. And that brings us to this track. This is a bumpy, extremely high-speed track. It intimidates the best drivers in the world. The combination is awesome, but because of all the elevation changes and all the blind corners, anything can happen. It has happened in the past, and this isn't a runaway quite yet.
Should be a wild and exciting race. Let's get more stories from the grid. Here are our pit reporters, Steve Evans and Martin Haven.
Ladies and gentlemen, feast your eyes on the most technically advanced sports car the world has ever seen, the Audi R8. Twin turbocharged V8 for power. It will be started today by Frank Biela of Monaco, Mod champion. Frank, your biggest concern other than competition has to be the weather.
Yes, of course. I mean, we had a few days of testing here and free practice sessions and everything, but we always had dry conditions, and now if the weather changes just for the race, it's for sure a very difficult situation. So I hope it stays dry.
Have a safe ride. And folks, how much fun is this going to be? Right next door to the Audi, the awesome front-engine Panoz car, Ford V8 for power, the team that won here 1 year ago. For more, Martin Haven.
Thanks, Steve. You know, in the classes here, we've already seen the status quo interrupted in qualifying. Ron Fellows had to almost beg Chevrolet to bring a Corvette here to the GTS race. He's done them proud by qualifying it on pole. The first time the all-conquering Chrysler Vipers have not been the fastest cars in the field. And in the GT class, well, BMW won last time out. Last year's champion Alex Job Racing's car is on pole position for Porsche. And the Works Porsche drivers, they crashed both of Dick Barber Racing's 911s in practice. Anything could still happen here. Well, to find out how these stories and all the others pan out, first we've got to get this show on the road.
Drivers, start your engines.
Let's take a look at the Audi track map.
A little under 2.5 miles and 10 turns that strike fear into every driver's heart. This track is intimidation. On the front straight here, we're inside with Boris Said and the BMW. Watch what happens up ahead. As you go down into turn 1, you can't even see where you start turning in. The car is sliding at about this point, feet on full power and right over onto these bumps. A really tricky area up ahead. Jackie Stewart called this corner the most difficult, the most dangerous in the world. All the way out to the edge, a double apex here, feeding back under throttle, almost 130 miles an hour before braking and dropping a gear into turn 3. A long corner, another blind one. At this point, you're full throttle again, trying to hold the car off that curbing there. Grab one more gear, back up to 135 miles an hour, briefly off it, and this turn has changed from last year, but up ahead, the famous Moss corner. A critical turn because here you want to set up the best exit possible, carrying speed up what this should be is a straight. They call this the straight, but look at it. But it is the only chance you get on this track to take a breath at all. You're climbing up the hills here, look in the mirror, see who's trying to pass you, watch up ahead to see who you have to pass. And way up ahead, over that rise, right there is your final braking area into an ultra high-speed turn 8. Just a stab on the brakes, drop a couple gears, and then carry a lot of speed up through here. 120 miles an hour, down another gear right here. The car wants to get over sideways, drop a gear. Look at him, he fights the wheel. He's got to keep that thing in line. And up here, turn 10, our last corner leading on to the start-finish straight. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a racetrack.
And a very difficult and very breathtaking course the drivers will face in today's race. You see the field beginning to roll off now from their positions along the grid. One lap back around to the green flag, and we'll get started with this afternoon's Grand Prix of Mosport. Now time for a look at the Dodge starting lineup. On pole, the Audi R8 of Le Mans winners Frank Villa and Emanuele Pirro, new track record speed alongside the Panoz of Jan Magnussen and David Brabham, winners at Nürburgring. The second Audi of McNish and Capello starting in third position, with the second Panoz of Johnny O'Connell and Hiroki Kato starting in fourth. Disappointing qualifying for BMW, JJ Leto starts fifth position. In sixth, it's Stefan Johansson who will start in the Reynard. Starting 7th, California's Bill Auberlin in the second of the BMW cars. And in 8th position, it's North Carolina's Jim Matthews, who starts with Mark Simo in a Reynard. The top GTS qualifier was 9th overall. It is Ron Fellows, the Canadian, in the General Motors Corvette. And the top GT qualifier, in a surprise, the Alex Job Racing Porsche. Randy Post qualifying there, outrunning the favored Dick Barber Porsches and the fleet of BMWs. The Barber cars, the 51 machine starting in 13th and the 5 in 18th, and keep an eye on the cars starting 15th. Hans Stuck and Boris Said in one of the BMW M3s. Look at the rest of the starting field. A couple of notables who are not here, including the Raffinelli team machine, had a heavy crash in Saturday morning practice and was withdrawn. Its driver Didier de Rodriguez injured a fractured vertebra in his lower back. Glad to report he'll be okay, but the team has withdrawn the car from today's race. Stay with us. We'll be right back to Mosport in just a minute.
The American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Dodge. In a perfect world, everything would be different. And by Pirelli and your local Pirelli retailer.
And so as you look at the field move around now, coming back toward the start, we're getting set to go. We mentioned weather conditions a couple of times. Let's tell you that there is rain threatening. It's not raining now. It is a dry course, but the forecast says it could come in at any time. And if you're not familiar with sports car racing and American Le Mans Series competition, they don't stop in the rain. They'll keep on going.
They really do, particularly on this track, because it's such an old circuit and an old surface that it really doesn't have the grip that modern pavement can give. Now, Don Panoz is the owner of this circuit nowadays, and he has repaved a number of areas of it and has changed a number of areas to make it a lot safer track. But it is tremendously slippery in the rain. Just watching the Panoz there come off the hairpin a moment ago, I saw him try and give some throttle, whatever gear he was in, and instantly got wheel spin. You can also see the amount of shine from the headlights on that road. That alone, without having any rain laid down so far, just look how shiny that road is. That's a very smooth piece of pavement.
So if it gets wet and in the rain, it will be extremely slick.
Skating rink.
With the terrific rain tires that the manufacturers will bolt onto these cars. So how will the weather affect the race? We'll find out over the next couple of hours as the field comes to the final corner. We're set to go racing. It is the 6th event of 12 in the American Le Mans Series season. The GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport. Pace car is off. Audi and Panoz on the front row coming down for the start.
Oh, contact!
Before they even get the green flag.
Amazing, and that really is wheel spin. I would watch for something. They have to be so careful on this lap. That shows you how little traction they all have right now. Look at the Audis over the bumps again. Remember, we talked about that. The Panoz a lot stiffer, a lot harder to handle on these bumps. The Audis this year have been astonishingly good on bumpy sections.
See the yellow flags up around the course. The start has been waved off. It was not a good start. In fact, I was kind of surprised the field was single file when they came off the corner. Nobody was doubled up at all, so the start has been waved off. You'll see the corner marshals with the yellow flags up as they come back around. There it is, yellow flags up, and we'll get another start in just a moment. Let's take another look at this start that was really wild.
I think what happened is that the Audi got a little bit of wheel spin, come over and bumped the Panoz, and the Panoz thought, no, I'm not going to have any of that. Just a little more intimidation. Now here, on board, watch the Audi on the right. Look at right there.
Wow.
All of a sudden, he got on it, just came over to the edge. Didn't really mean to hit the Panoz, but at that point, your blood gets going. You want to get by him.
So that was on board with Jon Magnussen, who really got a scare there before he even got to the green flag. Almost got punted off the course by Frank Biela in the Audi. So the field making its way back around now into the final corners of the course. And wait and see what happens here. I believe the start has been waved off and the yellow flag should be up, but it looks like they're sure at full song.
Yeah, you know what? I've got a feeling. Oh, look at the Audi. Dives down the inside. Oh, wow, what a move. That really was a bit of a shock. And I think what may have happened is that they might have been holding the yellow flags out because of the slippery nature of this surface. Try and give the drivers just an added degree of safety going around. That caught all of us by surprise.
I'll tell you, Bill, though, the communication we're getting from series officials are that this is still no start. The yellow flags are still up around the course. So I'm trying to figure out just truthfully what's going on here.
Well, if that's the case.
There's the hand up with McNish. He's got the hand up signifying that we're going to slow this thing down.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. He could have set himself up for a penalty right then. Passing under yellow is a violation under any race body. One of the reasons, for those of you at home asking, why are these guys trying to go so fast if they're under yellow flag? Well, they want to try and generate as much temperature in their tires as possible, just to give themselves that much more safety. When race tires are up to full temperature, they have terrific grip. But when they're cold, they are worse than your street tires. These things just skate across pavement until they get hot.
So confusion at the start of our Grand Prix of Mosport here. And we're going to line them up and do it again.
Look at this. This view is looking down the, quote, back straight. It is not much of a straight, but it's the only breath that you can get. And right now, trying to keep what little temperature they've generated. What the Panoz is doing right there is actually going to keep a little bit more temperature in the tires than the other ones.
So while we get the field reformed, let's take a break here. We'll come back for the restart, or actually the start, in just a moment. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. We're back at Mosport, getting ready for the restart in the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Mosport. You see Jon Magnussen once again ducking up to the outside of Frank Biela for what is supposed to be a double file start. Here we go, green flag.
It's a great one, too. Look at Magnussen. He is going to push the Audi all the way down into turn one, but cannot hold off. Again, the ability of the Audi to absorb the bumps. And there at the exit, see how the cars bounce over there. That potentially is so dangerous and so heart-stopping for all of the drivers. You're coming off this corner at about 125, 130 miles an hour under full throttle. 650, 700 horsepower is trying really hard to pitch your car sideways. Not a good fun spot there with the bumps.
Remember that we've said the weather is going to be an issue. You see a couple of dots on the camera lens there. We have a report there may be some rain sprinkling at a couple of sections on the course. So that will give the drivers fits as they go through these opening laps. You watch the 77 car, the yellow-winged Audi there, being driven by Alan McNish, winner at Sears Point last race out, trying to put a move for second spot on Jon Magnussen in the red Panoz.
Oh, and Magnussen got a great
goes
draft.
For the race lead.
He's got a sensational draft up the straight, but now can he outbrake him? No, the Audi dives in deeper into turn 8, 135 miles an hour through this corner here, then just a stab on the brakes, drop a gear, and then back up here onto this quick little corner that leads onto the front straight. Watch the difference between the red car, and now here we're on board Magnussen. This will just show you how hard he is fighting. Look at the sequential gearbox. He'll just be moving that gear lever straight back, down through here, 125, 130, 135, and then another hard acceleration, almost 150 before right there. Stab the brakes, and look at this. The world falls away. Talk about getting your heart in your mouth.
Now Magnussen goes from challenging Frank Biela for the race lead to having to fight off McNish for second. Maybe Biela just slipped up off the Moss corner there, up the backside of the course.
Yeah, quite possible. We know that the Panoz has got excellent power and has always had the ability to put that power down very well. But you know, I'm going to keep harping on this suspension thing all day long. For the viewers at home, watch the difference between the Panoz in second place there, particularly on the back, and watch how it kind of chatters. It bounces up and down very quickly. Then, at the same spots, when you see the Panoz go over top, watch the Audis, either the first or third place cars, and watch how smooth they seem. There,
And
you
watch
can see
that camera lens, too.
Oh, my heaven. This place is going to be treacherous when the rains do. They are going to come. We're just hoping that they hold off as long as possible. Up through turn 10, a little concrete strip on the inside, which also turns like glass.
So the front 6 and 7 cars all running fairly close together in these opening laps. Biela in the Audi leading, the red-winged of the two Audis. Running second is Magnussen in the Panoz, the red car. Then it's McNish in the Audi. Then O'Connell in the second Panoz, and then the first of the BMWs with Lato aboard. The white car that'll just flash in and out of the back of your picture here while we follow the leaders around.
And we know that Magnussen is very, very good in the rain. He was nothing short of spectacular at the Nürburgring. We recorded that great victory for Panoz. Just tremendous. And that, of course, the rain at Nürburgring gave fits to the Audis, as it did to everybody. There were more spins than a barnyard dance.
And you heard Frank Biela say when Steve Evans talked to him on the grid, his only concern today so far was the weather.
Yes.
All their testing has been in dry. They have no idea what this car will do under wet conditions at this racetrack.
No, and for new viewers watching this, there's a huge difference in the setup you can make on a race car between the ideal wet and the ideal dry setup. On a smooth, fast track, you want the car set up really about as stiff as you can possibly stand it. But for rain, you want the car's suspension to absorb as much of the bump as possible. So you would totally change your spring and shock absorber setup. That is not something you can do in the middle of the race. So one of the things that I'm curious about is, would any of the two-car teams have gambled on maybe making a little bit different setup for their second car? With Audi, it doesn't look like, since they're both able to hold station pretty well equally. I think they're both set up for a dry track.
We'll find out.
It could be very interesting.
Biela, Magnussen, McNish, your top three. O'Connell just there at the back of the picture in fourth. As we work the opening laps here at Mosport in this Grand Prix for the American Le Mans Series. Beginning to put a little distance on fourth place. There's McNish, winner at Sears Point. What a drive he made in the last race out a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Won by a full lap over the field. His team car finished in second, and he was a full lap ahead of them.
He just put on the performance of his lifetime. I think it was just a really brilliant job. Drove perfectly on another very difficult circuit. Another one of the great Scottish drivers, Alan McNish.
He was very, very aggressive in that race. Aggressive enough to get the attention of some of his fellow drivers who said he bordered from aggressive to crazy. But McNish right now running a solid third in the second of the Audis. In the early going of the Grand Prix of Mosport for the American Le Mans Series, Audi with Frank Biela leads. We'll come back with more in a minute. Things are changing here in Mosport. We are under a full course caution, actually wrapping it up. Here's the cause of the full course caution. It's up at Moss Corner.
Yeah, coming down here, you can see one car just getting loose under braking, making heavy contact with the Dick Barber car. That's the Wallach and Bassett car. The car that caused it goes into the pits, but the problem is much more than just that. Got a punctured radiator up front, something that's dragging on the tire, effectively really knocking him down.
That is Bob Wallach, the French veteran who got hit by Rudy Bartling. Now, pit stops here under the caution flag. Many of the leaders came in, not because they needed fuel, but because it started raining.
And it's a big gamble at this point. You get a number of different tires available. The tires that these fellows are putting on right now, the number one car initially went to an intermediate tire. This is more or less a slick that has a couple of grooves put in it just to try and get rid of some of the water buildup. But I don't think that works, because a lot of the other cars, the number two car, for example, we heard from the pits, they did go to a full wet setup, and the BMWs have gone to full wet. So JJ Lato, who also is one really fine rain driver, is on full tread, full depth wet tires.
Let's take a look at a pit summary and show you who has come in and who has not at this point, and what some of the teams did as we get set to come to the green flag. Well, here goes the pace car off. We're going to go back at it and get the restart.
Oh, and this, oh, look at the Panoz in the background. The Panoz spun coming out of turn 10. We saw him. You can see there's another car sideways. There's cars all over the place. There's a waving yellow in the background there.
Looks like one of the Alex Joe cars. There it is. That is the Mike Fitzgerald car.
I was about to say, this is such a dangerous time, because rain tires like slicks, you have to get hot. You've got to get something to help you get grip on the pavement. And as the rain tires are cold from them circulating behind this yellow flag, they're treacherous to drive on. Watch how careful they have to be here. You've just got to have kid gloves on as you're driving.
Let's get out of Martin Haven, who has more on the tire selections and strategies. Martin?
Well, we'll scrub that because the 5-car Dick Barber's lead Works Porsche-driven car has just come in with frontal damage. They've been off as well. What the tyre technicians are saying is because the age of the pavement here at Mosport dates back to the 60s for most parts, it gets much, much wetter than ordinary racetracks, and it gets slick almost instantly any moisture is on it. So intermediates are almost a bigger gamble than going to full wets, and that's what a number of the cars did straight away, including the BMWs, and that's proved to be a good choice, not only because it's got to rain harder, but also, as Alan McNish pointed out quite saliently out of turn 10 a couple of laps ago, intermediates are just not enough even when you've got a bit of drizzle as we have now.
The only word that keeps popping into my mind right here, Bill, is just chaos. There is chaos on the racetrack. There are cars crashed everywhere. There are cars in the pits, out of the pits, different tire strategies. The whole running order's been jumbled. That's the number 6 BMW of Brian Simo and Johannes van Overbeek that has gotten off course and into the outside wall.
I'm sure he's gotten the outside wall too, just because of a problem with the traction. Here's a replay, the number 22 car trying to go down turn 2. Look how loose this is. Incredible. He's trying desperately, keep his foot on the throttle, and finally, get his foot on it, try and stop this thing from sliding. And you can see that he didn't slide very much off the pavement, but it is so slippery.
That's Atlanta driver Mike Fitzgerald there, who went for the double ride all in the course of a same lap. Now, here is the lead group. It is basically the 2 Panoz machines and the 2 BMWs, but look at how careful they're all being on the slick racetrack.
Yeah, one of the things that's going to come into play here, there's the BMW parked off the outside, so he has spun a 180, and look at the Audi. I don't know if he's going to make that or not. The 1 Panoz, gee whiz, it's such a nervy position at this point. Now the 1 Panoz appears to be visibly going very, very, look at this.
Challenge for the lead.
Wow.
Here comes Magnussen. He's just going to go right around Bila, who looks like he's off the pace.
Holy man, well that is...
He just wave him through?
That's almost like in a different class right there. Magnussen is flying right now. He just rocketed away, and the team car has also gone by. There might be a problem with that Audi. I wonder if he is finally going to come in and go to a full wet setup himself. He may have stayed on intermediate tires just a little too long.
Remember that in the Nürburgring race that we showed you just a snippet of in our opening, that was a wet race. The Audis, the BMWs all had problems. They had spins off course, and it was Jan Magnussen in the Panoz, that car right there, who made an absolutely brilliant drive and scored the win.
He did, and I think we're going to see that other Audi come into pits. Oh, there's a hand up. Now that's probably because of a yellow flag. That's McNish warning following drivers. His rear vision must be so bad. He is putting his hand up, warning them, hey, there's a yellow, don't pass, don't hit.
Safety car is coming out onto the course, possibly to go pick up that BMW that we saw up against the wall there on the Andretti straight.
I'm sure you're right, Alan. I think that's a perfect call.
So full course caution number 2 in the opening laps of this Grand Prix of Mosport. It's been chaotic so far. Who knows what's going to happen? We'll come back with more of the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport in just a minute on Speed Vision. Back at Mosport, green flag is in the air after the stuck BMW was removed from the side of the course. We're racing once again. Down to the inside comes Alan McNish in the Audi, jumps ahead of Jan Magnussen for the race lead.
Boy, and Magnussen had a huge power slide coming off turn 1 there, tried to get power down. McNish did a great job. Ideally, you want to try and get out back because look how clear his visibility, comparatively clear.
Yeah.
It's still a lousy day, but he doesn't have the spray from other cars throwing up added water into his visibility. Magnussen, however, again, go back to Nürburgring and look how fast he was. Disregard that little thing you see being thrown up there, folks. A piece of tape
rubber,
or something that's on the road. It's been run over a number of times. It's not dangerous at all. There's a Viper. Looks like it's getting some pretty good traction coming through turn 3, actually past one of the prototypes.
Stories at this point, the weather obviously making track conditions extremely treacherous. Look at Magnussen just tiptoeing around that corner back there in the Panoz. And the fact that the other of the Audis, the Frank Biela machine, came down pit road under this yellow and made a change of tires. It has dropped him back into the field to 12th position. He'll try and pick his way back up through the traffic now. But what they did basically is went from one brand of rain tires, one cut of rain tires to another.
Yeah, it's one of the great gambles because you're never sure how long the rain is going to last or how bad it's going to get. Do you go to intermediates that are almost like slicks, but with a few grooves, or do you go to a full wet tire that have a lot more grooves for greater water dissipation?
Gave up the track position to get the full wets. Now he's going to pick his way back through some of the traffic. There's one of the BMWs coming through. Here's the GTS leader. Ron Fellows there in the yellow Corvette, and just behind him comes one of the BMWs, Bill Oberlin, with a big slide. Oh, going around.
Oh, boy, and he's hard in the wall. I think we're going to get another pace car right here and that fast.
That should be Jim Matthews in the Reynard.
Yeah, I think that is Jim for sure. I can see the black and white striped helmet there. That's the Reynard that's banged in. Potentially dangerous situation if somebody else happens to do the same thing, which there have been a number of incidents like that. That is Jim.
Just touched the throttle a little too much off the corner, broke traction, and off he goes. There's one of the BMWs off.
Oh, gee, a number 7 car. That's
his
Stuck Sports. I think that's
Hans Stuck.
That's Hans driving right now.
And he's going very slowly.
Maybe he's coming in to get some new tires on. Come on, Jim, get that thing moving. You can see
he's being waved off by one of the sports car officials there, telling him just to leave it there.
Yeah, they're telling him that the back wheel is on such an angle, he won't be able to go anyplace.
Here's another look.
Look at the BMW. He can get just barely any traction. And in the background, now, hard into that wall. That is exactly what happened to the Olive Garden car, one of our regular competitors. Didier de Radagast came off that turn in the dry, was unable to get power smoothly down. It just vaulted the car back over to this wall, and as usual, concrete doesn't move very far.
Radagast suffering a fractured vertebrae in his back, and that team withdrawing that car, and Jim Matthews obviously done for the day after the crash to the inside wall off turn number 10. So, here comes the safety car one more time to pick up leader Alan McNish. It has been a very halting first portion of this Grand Prix of Mosport, as rain has just thrown this race into chaos. Cars spinning and crashing everywhere all over the track. We'll take a break, come back with more of Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Mosport in just a minute.
The American Le Mans Series is brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Back at Mosport in Bowmanville, Ontario, you're looking at the new leader of the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport. It is Jan Magnussen in the Panoz. While we were away, things have gotten interesting once again. A race that has been strangely chaotic from the start, first by the weather, now by a penalty. Alan McNish, the race leader, there in that car, has just climbed back to second place. He was the leader a moment ago when we went to the break. He went down pit lane because of a problem being a black flag.
The black flag for passing under yellow flag, it really was something that he knew right away that he did it. He waved the car back around, but unfortunately that doesn't cover his moment of indiscretion. Another one of the many spins today, and this is another portion that this track, again, just to re-emphasize, keep in mind, these are some of the best drivers in the world. If they are having problems with their cars, just think what it would be like if you had some of the drivers from your city driving around. Oh, my.
Yeah. Looking at Jan Magnussen and now McNish, who's made an absolutely brilliant drive back. He went only back to 5th position by the stop-and-go penalty on the black flag, but he has wasted no time in dusting off 4th, 3rd, and now 2nd, and he's closing on Magnussen at an incredible rate.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, Alan McNish is from Scotland, and this is what would be termed a hot, sunny day in Scotland. He'd have all kinds of sunblock on for this weather, so he's used to it.
And he's about to put a lap on his team car. That's Frank Biela and the other Audi off to the off-line part of the racetrack, going a lap down. Biela's got all kinds of problems. He spun on the last restart a minute ago. We were away in the break when that happened. Fell all the way back toward the tail end of the field. Has not really made a lot of success in picking his way back through. So the pole-sitting car of Le Mans winner Frank Biela in all kinds of trouble, while his teammate McNish...
Whoa. Boy, McNish just got a real wiggle right there going up the straight. That's the kind of thing that doubles your heart rate about that fast.
He is pressing hard to try and retake the lead from Jan Magnussen.
You know, this is one of these times with all of the Audi, but not just the Audi drivers. I think every driver in the field would be wishing they had the Quattro system on their car, so they're not worried about just putting horsepower down with rear wheels only. Frank Biela spent a lot of time driving the Audi Quattros in the sedan series in Europe, and I'm sure he's thinking back to the fond days of not having to worry about wheel spin.
McNish closing quickly on Magnussen for the race lead, taking that real tight line off turn number 10. Let's see if he makes the bid here. Well, not quite close enough, but it won't be long. You see the scoring serial on McNish, 14th, up to 2nd.
He has been beautiful to watch, too. Other than that little wiggle off the hairpin, he just doesn't seem to be having any problem with this track. This is really impressive. Now, as he gets closer and closer to the Panoz, keep in mind these huge tunnels underneath the car, and you can see the wall of water that throws up. His visibility will decrease more, and now, like right there, for example, he would have dreadful visibility. Oh, God, look at that car. It is wiggling again.
Dreadful grip, too, as he tries to stay tucked in the draft of the Panoz and find a way around him. Here they come sweeping through turn number 4. Heavy braking here. This is Moss corner, the double right hand, turn number 5.
You can see they're taking dramatically different lines to back out on the straight. Magnussen, keep in mind that the job he did at the Nürburgring in the rain, it was just about as bad as you can get. It was a very cold day, lots of rain and very slippery conditions. He drove brilliantly. He is now fighting off, and you can bet that his crew has told him that the Audi is on his tail, but that's a great shot. The camera shot right there kind of showed the visibility, or the lack of visibility, these guys have. It's just about zero. It's as bad as you can imagine.
Magnussen squeezing to the inside of Olivier Beretta there.
I think that shows how competitive he is. He wants to try and get by Beretta as quickly as possible. Maybe use Beretta as a little bit of a blocking back, but that didn't last very long. McNish slamming up the inside, and again coming down at turn 1.
Just clearing that inside wall, trying to stay offline.
Yeah. In fact, that's a great successful move that he did right there. He was able to stay way offline, not quite close enough to make a pass, but that's what he has to do. And I think perhaps turn 3 is going to be a place to do it. Again, a slide off the back of the Audi. On the next corner, on the outside of this particular corner, where McNish is right now, there is noticeably more grip. And see if he can get a run on the Panoz off the corner as this turn. Now he ducks back to the inside, and I don't think he's close enough.
This is awful risky business, though, isn't it? I mean, there's still a long time left to go in this race. It's awful risky to be pressing this hard at this point.
But part of it is that with Magnussen being up front, he is in the safer of the two positions right now because his vision is so much clearer. So McNish would like to take over that position just to get rid of the spray. And the other thing, too, is that when you're following a car, you always stand a chance of getting involved in his mistake. If Magnussen happens to miss some sort of a little key, look at this shot again. Look at that. You can hardly see the back of the Panoz. Just in the Audi, too, they almost disappear in the mist.
I'm thinking here that McNish has just decided that running up that close to Magnussen was just a little too dicey at this point. Because see how much he's dropped back off him? Okay, let's ride, let's pace it, let's sit in second for a while, get to the next pit stop, and maybe turn it over to my pit crew, see if they can get me out quicker.
This is the kind of weather where you're looking forward to your pit stop and you can say, right, it's your turn. You can go out and play in this awful weather.
Well, just as I say that, here he comes back up on the back deck again. Let's see if he makes the move here. Off turn 1, headed for the double apex, turn 2.
Not quite.
Just needing the slightest slip by Magnussen, but making sure he doesn't get collected in that slip, like you were saying a minute ago.
It is so close, but he's driving so intelligently right now, not risking the car. He's hoping that Magnussen will see his headlights and maybe get a little bit rattled, go offline just by a couple of feet. Now, he can't make a pass here, not a chance. Down this used to be a steep downhill corner here to turn 4. Heavy braking coming uphill into turn 5. And then the last little flick to the right here, leading out of the back straight. Mario Andretti. Oh, and McNish made a big error right there. Look, suddenly now he's dropped back 4 or 5 car lengths. Just the tiniest error of getting a foot or 2 offline, you lose the grip where all of the cars had been traveling. You're suddenly on a fairly fresh pavement, much more of a puddle.
So dramatic racing in the rain here at Mosport as Jan Magnussen leads under heavy pressure from Alan McNish. We'll come back with more in just a moment. Stay with us. You're watching the American Le Mans Series. Today we're in Mosport, outside of Toronto, Canada, and the weather has played absolute havoc with this Grand Prix of Mosport. There's the new leader of the race, Alan McNish, the Scotsman, who we saw get the stop-and-go penalty earlier, then powered his way back up to put pressure on Jan Magnussen for the lead. Here's the pass at which he got the top spot.
It was pretty slick coming off this final corner. Look at this. You see the Panoz get loose just for a moment. McNish is in a straight line. He's already got the power well and truly applied. It was all over. Now look at this from the back view. A real good straight line. Part of the secret of wet weather driving is to get the car as straight as possible. Obviously not what happened here. This was later on. Magnussen was pushing very, very hard, as they both are. Lost it coming off. That's turn 3 right there. Got it turned around and bumped up against there. Now that's the other Panoz.
That's the other Panoz. That's O'Connell.
So they are both having problems today on this track. It is just, it's horrible. I mean, try and imagine somebody comes to you and says, all right, I'm going to give you this 700 horsepower race car. You're going to have an open top, and I'm going to give you a good slippery track to drive it on. Would you be interested?
It's been a brutal day here at Mosport. You saw heavy damage there for Magnussen. Fortunately, he's okay. The other Panoz into the outside barrier there in turn 3 with Johnny O'Connell aboard. So that team's hopes have been significantly dimmed here in the Grand Prix of Mosport today. Now, let's touch back for a minute on the other 2 production-based classes that are in today's race. We haven't really had a chance to talk about them. There's been so much happening with the lead cars. There's Ron Fellows, who started on pole in the GTS class, or the car that Fellows started. Andy Pilgrim has just gotten aboard. They are no longer the leader in that class. Steve Evans, what happened?
Well, let's ask Ron Fellows. You're no longer the leader in the class. Can you get it back?
I hope so. Andy will do a great job, I'm sure. We kind of got mixed up on that pit stop there. It looks like, to me, they, just after I went by turn 9, they opened the pits. And we didn't get in that lap. So we're trying to figure out whether or not it was actually open. I thought it looked to me like it was closed, but after I went by, it opened because the car ducked in behind me. But anyway, it's...
Speaking of open and closed, will you get back in that car?
I'm not sure. You can go, it's so slick here, you're not getting to the throttle much. You can go a long time on a tank of fuel. I'm sure Andy'd do a great job.
That's a keen little device, the inside wind chill wiper.
Haven't had to use it yet. It's just a fine mist. It's slicker than I can't tell you. I mean,
well, Andy's using it. He thanks you for it.
Okay, Steve. Well, you know, the Corvette's running great. I mean, that's a new compound Goodyear rain tire. Seems to work pretty well. I mean, I'm happy. We'll just see what happens in the next hour and 20.
The man you would want in your race car here at Mosport in the rain, Alan.
Ron Fellows giving way to his teammate Andy Pilgrim and not getting quite close enough to the pit wall to get the fuel rig hooked up. Cost him some time, and so it has put the Viper of Olivier Beretta and Carl Wendlinger into top spot in GTS. Time for a break. We'll come back to Mosport with more in just a minute. Alan McNish, an inspired race, I guess it's fair to say, as we get set to go back racing.
He has been inspired. He's driven brilliantly. Got the car out of shape only a couple of times and only for very small increments, just tiny little bits. But really has just been putting on a driving clinic, much as he did at Sears Point. Only out there it was in the dry. Today it's in the rain, and it's great to watch. I mean, it's quite remarkable too. Looking at the fans here on this track, there isn't a single person who isn't enjoying themselves here. The people are up against the fence, and there's little kids out here 6 and 7 years old wearing shorts, and they don't care. The rain's coming down and the wind is blowing, and we have had 4 perfect days of weather up here. Today it's dawned just miserable, but it has not dampened the enthusiasm of the Canadian fans. Just great fun.
There's your GT leader, Bruno Lambert, in the Alex Cho Porsche, leading that class as we go back racing once again. You see McNish blasting away. There's Stefan Johansson, the second place car, that gray and red machine, the Reynard, trying to stuff his way to the inside of the couple of the GT cars in turn 1.
Yeah, he did a great job right there too. He just took advantage of a little bit of open track, and now he has given himself excellent visibility up ahead. Look down the outside here now. That's the Audi that's trying desperately to get around right there. Has to be so careful. Now the BMW right ahead. He wants to be very cautious at this point. Remember, their rain tires have cooled down from, again, going through these pace car situations. So slippery, very much so right now.
Now the race here is for position between the BMW and the Audi. The 43 BMW, the white car there, is running in 4th place. That is Jean-Marc Gounon, who's in behind the wheel of that machine. And the 5th place car, the Audi, is being driven right now by Manuele Pirro. But they're a lap down. They're not racing for the lead here with McNish. They are a lap down, but they are racing for the 4th and 5th spots among themselves. There's Gounon.
And I think it's important that they keep going at the hardest possible pace, because you never know what's going to happen. We've already seen a couple of almost unthinkable things take place today. So who knows if the top 4 cars are going to... I made a comment just in jest a few moments ago that if Ron Fellows keeps going at the pace he's going, he may wind up winning overall. It is not unthinkable on a day like today. It certainly could happen.
Let's see. Go back and recap this. We had the false start right off the beginning. The 2 front row cars banging together before we even got to the start-finish line. As up the outside comes Pirro.
Look at that. He went around the outside of the BMW on turn 10 as if the BMW was a different class of car.
So Pirro moves up into the 4th spot. We look back into the GT race.
You know, GT race really has just been a Porsche stranglehold all day long for Alex Job Racing. Last year, Alex Job had the worst possible thing happen in practice and qualifying. They rolled the car, went through an all-night session, rebuilt it, and then had the God's smile on them. They come back on the race day, won the race. Well, this week, this year, they qualify on the pole and have led from the pole from the word go. So they are having, well, I don't want to jinx them. They're having a good day so far.
Watching as Bruno Lambert drives that Porsche in some heavy traffic, and some of the other GTS cars and some of the prototype cars mixed in and among him, plus the rain that he's got to deal with. He's got his hands full today, running an 8th spot overall right now.
And one of their nemesis immediately ahead of him right there. You can just see the tail of the BMW. That's the one to watch.
Back with more of round 6 of the American Le Mans Series in just a minute on Speed Vision.
The American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Audi, creators of the Blast to Drive A4 Trio, the dashing and daringly new A6, and the revolutionary all-aluminum A8.
You're looking at the new race leader, that is Jorn Buller in the BMW. While we were away in that last break, more wholesale changes in this race. We had a quick caution flag, but a couple of the slower GT cars tangled at that spot on the racetrack off turn 10. Everybody except this car ducked onto pit road. Most of them made driver changes, and so that puts the BMW up into the top spot for the first time all race. Alan McNish, who had the leading Audi in the lead, has now given up that car to Ronaldo Capello. They are now running in 2nd spot behind this BMW. Running 3rd is Guy Smith. He's taken over the Renard under the caution from Stefan Johansson. He is now the 3rd place car and the final one on the lead lap. In 4th is the 2nd of the 2 Audis. It is Manuel Piro, who is in that car 1 lap down. GTS leader is Carl Wendlinger in the Viper, just ahead of Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette. Let's go back to the GT class leader, the slower of the 2 production-based cars. This is Bruno Lambert here, driving the number 23 Alex Job Racing Porsche. Pulled off somewhat of a surprise in winning pole for this event, and
indeed,
they've paced the class the whole time through so far. Some of the favorites have had problems, and it's just been so much chaos in the first half of this race. We haven't had a chance to talk about it much. The favorite Dick Barber Racing Porsches, both have run into problems. We saw Bob Wallach get run into by a slower car and have a tire go down and some suspension problems. The other car, the Muller Lure machine, went out early with a mechanical failure of some sort. So those 2 cars plus the BMWs all trailing this privateer team throughout the race.
I think this is everybody's dream, is to take a privateer team and go against the very best. And Dick Barber, of course, has factory backing. Tom Milner, who runs the BMW team, he has factory backing. Alex Job, more or less, runs this on his own. He came up here, did such a job last year, dominated, had a very, very convincing win here last year, and he's come back again this year and proven that he's learned from the track. He learned even at the last race at Sears Point because he had such a strong performance out there. And this really is probably the most impressive performance of the day. Look at this battle. Now, this is tremendous. This is Andy Pilgrim, who has taken over from Ron Fellows in the Corvette, and he's going to do it right there. That's the top of turn 2. Oh, my heaven, you cannot pick a braver place to put a pass on. Pilgrim, just incredible. I'm sure that the Viper did not expect anybody to try a pass right there. That was amazing.
Pilgrim by Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. So wow. It is the Corvette who goes back out on top in the GTS class. Got some telemetry on board there with Andy Pilgrim.
Yeah, you can see, this is a big 7-liter Corvette. This is a blindingly fast car. Every time he goes by our broadcast booth, the ground is shaking. It thunders around the course here. Look at the G-force. It is down, but still, keep in mind, on a wet track, the car is pulling over a G as he goes around these corners. Now up the back straight, watch the acceleration climb. There's over 100 already, 110, goes flying up straight. We lose a little bit of the telemetry because of the elevation changes up here, but it should pick up again up near the top of the straight. They'll be flying up the straight 155 miles an hour.
Let's check up on the Viper that has just lost the GTS class lead. Down to pit road and Steve Evans.
I don't even know if Olivier Beretta knows that his teammate has just lost the lead back to the Corvette.
Well, at this point, at the beginning of the race, the Dodge was very strong. During the dry, we were quicker. I overtake him and it was comfortable to go, I think. And after the rain came, and we stopped at the right time just to put the rain tires. And as soon as we go out, I have a lot of power understeer. It was very, very difficult to keep the car on the track. So I didn't push 100%. I just said, okay, stay on the track. For sure, there will be another pace car, and we will recatch. And that happened. And now we make an adjustment on the car, and we change also the tires, and this should be in a good direction. So anyway, it's good, it's fun, and it's very, very nice.
And I think we'll see their final pit stops, if there are any, pretty close together, Alan.
Yeah, and the big asterisk there from Steve, if there are any. We've had so many laps behind the safety car to this point in the race. The fuel mileage has been stretched incredibly on these machines, and that's certainly a story worth following up here, is can anybody go the distance to the finish on fuel from those last pit stops they made just a second ago under the caution flag while we were away in the commercial break.
I expected Beretta to talk about fuel there because he seemed to answer every question before Steve put it to him.
Yeah.
That was a most comprehensive answer by Olivier Beretta. He's a brilliant driver to watch. Great fun to watch around here, and his co-driver, unfortunately right now, isn't nearly as fast as Beretta was. Pilgrim right now is running about 2 seconds a lap quicker than the Viper, so Andy Pilgrim doing a real stellar job with the Corvette right now.
And that is Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. Here comes Andy Pilgrim up off the corner. Now, over that car from Ron Fellows.
You know, interesting right there. Look at how the Viper is having problems coming up across the windshield. The rain is actually, shall I say, tapering off. I hate to jinx this right now, but it looks like his windshield is starting to dry, and you can see the Viper blade actually laboring.
We'll take a break, come back with more of Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series from Mosport in just a minute. Back at Mosport, Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series continues. It's the GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix Round 6 of the 2000 season. The BMW, the white car, second of the two in the screen there, is Jörg Muller. But he's been overtaken by the Audi.
He has, yes.
That is a pass for the lead. So while we were looking at the GT race, the top spot has changed hands in the race, and the 77 car of Ronaldo Capello has gone back into the top spot.
Capello took a few laps to adjust from the pit stop where McNeish got out and he got back in. He at one point, for the first few laps, was running 3 or 4 seconds lap off the pace, allowed his tires to go up to temperature, and now on his last lap right there, he ran almost 2.5 seconds faster than the BMW. So he too has got in the groove. Now he's finding himself very comfortable in the car, and he's going around so well. These cars are beautiful to watch. They are very pretty race cars.
There's Muller in the BMW, now relegated back to second spot, trying to stay in contact if he can with the powerful Audis, who have been dominating so far in this race. They had a good tussle with the Panoz machine earlier, but when McNish got back to the front, he went and got into the lead, and now has turned the car over to his teammate here, Capello.
He sure did. This is just, the whole team, the Yost Racing team is quite remarkable. This car is just something special. You look at it, every single piece of it. Look at even the way the taillights fit in it. It's been so carefully designed, and obviously has spent hundreds of hours in wind tunnel, but it's a great looking race car as well.
So, Ronaldo Capello and the Audi are back in the lead in the Grand Prix of Mosport. There are the top 5 drivers. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. The Grand Prix of Mosport, you're looking at the lead car, Ronaldo Capello in the Audi R8. A minute ago, before we went to the break, he took the lead away from Jörg Muller in the BMW. And it happened in turns 2 and 3 of this 10-turn Mosport Park course. Let's take a look at what happened.
Watch as they come down out of turn 2, this blindingly fast downhill left turn. Look. Kind of tucks to the inside, slots up the outside. Now on the outside edge is the best traction. The BMW doesn't have a chance. The Audi is way past before he can even possibly respond.
And as you can see, has left Muller far behind.
It's really impressive. These cars, oh no,
what is that?
No, that's not normal, and that's not spray. That was oil coming from under the car.
Potential trouble for the race leader.
Maybe the first sign of, well, let's take a look here. We're going to have to wait until we get another view of this car. But now, turn 3 is a long right-hand corner where you get a lot of oil generally building up on the left side of the motor. Let's just see if everything's okay. Notice he's driving on the wet part of the track, too. I wonder if he's trying to save...
Yeah, I didn't see anything there, Bill. That looked pretty clean there.
Well, and the telemetry shows that he is still going up the straight very quickly. They were running about 177 miles an hour earlier, so yeah, he's over that one more time.
So maybe he just got into a little deeper section of water on the course that kicked up a stream from just his left side tires and made it look a little odd. See the way the water funneled out from under the left rear fenders there?
Yeah, I saw that, but that did not look like water coming off turn 3. Let's watch again maybe when he goes around this time.
Yeah.
Here he is coming down the front straight. Watch how quickly these cars accelerate. Look, 90, 100, 110, 120, down 30. Just amazing. And this streaming wet track. It's so impressive to watch.
Now here's a twist. The rain has lightened up some, so you can see by looking at the track surface, it's beginning to dry more in some spots than others.
Well, that's possible. Why he pulled offline there, coming out of the straight.
Right, they're on full wet tires.
Exactly.
Here.
Yes, he wants to try and cool it down. Now he's coming up to turn 3. This is where we got the blast of smoke last lap.
So see if he goes offline or catches extra water with the left sides, or.
Well, isn't that curious? Nothing that time.
Yeah. Well.
Meaning he's either out of oil or there's nothing wrong with the car. Hopefully nothing wrong with the car.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, but for now, Capello continues to extend his lead over second place Jörg Muller in the BMW.
Yeah, pulling away by about a second a lap.
Yeah, just powering away here at this point in the race.
You know, again, that looked like an awfully slow exit off the hairpin. I thought he came off slow the last time. I wonder if they're maybe having gearbox troubles.
Well, let's go down to his pit and find out. Martin Haven.
Well, guys, I'm here with Alan McNeish. Alan just rushed in from the back of the garage. Tell us, what did the team find out?
Well, nothing. I was down at the truck after having done my stint, just drying off my helmet, and I heard a lot over the tannoy saying that there was smoke from 77. But we came back and I've just asked them, and they said that from the data and the telemetry they have, there's nothing, no problem, and he's still quicker than Leto in second.
Now, it looked pretty greasy out there. On intermediates, you had a spin, but once you get onto full wets, the car seems to be pretty well together, much better so than the Nürburgring.
Yes, I think we made a slightly wrong decision going on to intermediates, but it's just one of these things. I called it, and it was wrong. I called the wets, and thankfully that was right, but that was quite simple in that direction. The car is very sure-footed, and especially in the high-speed stuff, and that's where I gained in comparison to Magnussen.
Okay, well, Alan McNeish waiting here. Hopefully he won't have to get back in the car before the end of the race.
Well, you might tell Alan, he definitely has smoke coming out that car, without question. We saw it happen down through turn 1. It appeared when he backed off the throttle just to let the car settle a bit. He definitely got a wisp of oil smoke out the tailpipe.
So we'll keep an eye on the lead car, the Audi R8 of Ronaldo Capello. Could there be a mechanical problem developing on the machine? We'll find out when we come back in just a moment. Stay with us. Capello leads the Grand Prix of Mosport. Speed Vision's coverage of the American Le Mans Series continues right after this. Back at Mosport International Raceway in the Grand Prix of Mosport, you're watching the lead car of Ronaldo Capello, and we have been watching it very, very intently. Wisps of smoke every now and then appearing to come from the exhaust pipe on the left side of the tail end of the car, but just not continuous and not regular.
That's the curious thing. It's intermittent. Meanwhile, the team car 78 has been rocketing up through the field. There's a battle right there, 4th and 3rd place. Now that car in your picture, number 36, Guy Smith is 3rd, and the Audi is 4th. Ooh, boy, just backed out at the right time there. That's very smart move, but he has been running up to 4 seconds a lap faster. I mean, that is the fastest car in the field right now.
That's Manuel Pirro, who's on board the Audi there, trying to catch Guy Smith.
Look at this. Gosh, he really has the bit between his teeth. Now, I would expect he's going to take a good setup going around turn 3. Look at a wide line here. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. He should get a good run of acceleration off the corner.
See Smith checking the mirror?
Yeah.
His head keeps bobbing right. Am I clear? Am I clear? Moves over, protects that line.
I don't think he'll try it here because there's only a single line for good braking right down in there. So he's going to keep it on the dry as long as possible, set up a good exit off the corner, back onto the straight right here. Now he'll be under full throttle. Smith also got a good launch. And keep in mind, Smith's car is one of those Judd V10s. So that car has got a ton of horsepower, but watch the Audi horsepower up the back straight.
Here he comes outside. Does he have enough room?
At the top of the straight he will have.
This is close.
Wow.
Turn number 8. 3rd place. Emanuele Pirro. Let's get an update on pit road. Martin Haven.
Well, look at the pictures you're seeing from the Audi pit. They're ready with the fuel hoses. They're also ready with, can you believe it, 2 slick tires. Biela, because of the way that he drove the car early on, put Pirot on a different fuel schedule to pretty much everybody else. The top 4 will go the distance on fuel if it stays wet. It looks as though Pirot is just about to come in to top up for the rest of the race, but surely it's still too wet for those slick tires.
I agree, Martin. I wouldn't try a slick tire to win the Millionaire Prize today. I'd want to be on intermediates at very best. Partly because the skies, they have cleared up, but it's still not good enough where you look and see sunshine that's going to develop sufficient temperature to allow slicks to get a really good grip.
You know, we talk about the technical sophistication of these American Le Mans Series cars, and Steve Evans earlier in the weekend took a look at a very basic component of an automobile that on these cars gets pretty tricked up.
If you're looking for the ultimate in technology, look no further than the Audi camp. Now, we've all driven a standard transmission car or truck, and you know the drill. You let out the clutch, you accelerate, you push in the clutch, you shift, you accelerate, push in the clutch, you shift. Not if you're Alan McNish and the Audi pilots. Take a look at this. The only cars out here with electronic paddle shifting, and it's this simple. This is his actual steering wheel, okay? You're in 6th gear, 5th, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't lift off the gas, you don't push in the clutch. Electronically, the engine is interrupted for a nanosecond to make that shift happen. And this is the kind of technology, I'm proud to say, that comes out of racing that someday maybe we'll all enjoy, huh? I'm holding a year's salary, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
At least a year's salary there.
I'll bet that drink button on the last lap of the race.
Steve has more on that. Steve?
A couple of other reasons why the Audi is such a supercar. They've achieved the lowest center of gravity, I believe, ever for a prototype sports car, and that's because the engine is a nice compact V8. Also, it's about 50, 60 kilograms lighter than the minimum weight, which means they add ballast where they want it on the car, where it's productive, rather than the overall unit being heavy to meet the minimum weight. I tell you, they are just awesome.
In racing, lighter is better.
It is.
And you look at the success that Audi has had so far in the 2000 season. Tremendous. Once they brought this new car out, it has been just about unbeatable. The only times it's been beaten is when they've stepped on their own toes in the rain at Nürburgring, for example, back in the month of July. So looking right now at the 4th place car, Emanuele Pirot there. Check that, he's moved up to 3rd spot. We saw that pass a minute ago. Trying to close in on 2nd place, Jörg Muller, but he's a pretty good distance back behind Muller now. He's got a lot of ground he's going to have to make up before he can challenge for an Audi sweep of the top 2 spots.
Yeah, again, we've got the telemetry up for you. Watch how quickly the car accelerates off this last corner here. Look, he's down into the 60-mile-an-hour range. Just watch the speed. Look at this. 90, 110, 20, 30. And that's on a wet track where traction isn't premium. So this is an awesome car. I just love that.
It's about 19 seconds behind the leader, about 6 seconds behind the 2nd place car and closing. So we'll see if he can chip away at some of that interval here in just a little bit.
Yeah, in fact, there's the car right there. That's the BMW immediately ahead.
So the lead is held by the 77 Audi of Ronaldo Capello, that machine there, in the Grand Prix of Mosport. We're back with more of round 6 of the American Le Mans Series in just a minute on Speed Vision. The GlobeMegaWheels.com Grand Prix of Mosport continuing, about 28 minutes of racing left here at Mosport International Raceway, about 70 miles east of Toronto. Looking at a great fight shaping up for the GTS class lead. It is held by Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette, but he is being quickly chased down by Carl Wendlinger in the Viper. There you see the interval distance between the two, just closing little bits at a time. Wendlinger is on Pilgrim in the Vet.
It's really good right now. Actually, the lap times have been very, very close. Wendlinger has been fractionally quicker, but the last couple of laps, Pilgrim has unfortunately come on traffic at just the wrong time, just enough to block him at critical spots, and that's allowed Wendlinger to get closer. Now, what this does for him is to just get the bit between his teeth a little bit more. He can see his quarry. That always inspires a driver. You just try that much harder when you can see who you're after.
And here comes the 3rd place car in GTS. That is David Donahue in the other Team Oreca Viper. And he's not running all that far behind these two either. He's about 9 seconds behind behind Pilgrim, the class leader.
Yeah, and in fact, they actually just ran faster times than Wendlinger did. So this could be a great 3-way fight very quickly.
While we watch the GTS class, let's just mention that 2nd place has just changed hands. Pirot has gotten around the Muller BMW, so the two Audis now run 1 and 2 overall. And notice the Donahue car there without some front headlights.
Yeah, I don't know if
could be a
that's
problem.
you know, I doubt it at this stage. I think if the rain had been heavier, it'd be something to worry about. But the longer this day goes on, the better the track gets. And you can see that there are a few of the cars have actually shut off their wipers, even with the spray coming up from other vehicles. They're still not worried. They've turned the wipers off. Still a few have them on.
So are we getting to a point now where anybody might be contemplating stopping for slick tires?
Yes, I think that's a very good point. And the one thing that a lot of these fellas will be contemplating is driving as smoothly as possible, and when you get the opportunity, go offline. Rain tires, because you're running on so much less rubber, because of these big narrow grooves and a softer rubber, they can overheat in a heartbeat. As soon as that happens, then you're in a real slide situation. It's like driving a sprint car. So you want to try and keep the tires as cool as possible, two ways. A little bit on the rain once in a while and drive very, very smoothly. That will benefit the smoothest drivers here.
Watching Wendlinger try and close in on Andy Pilgrim. Here comes Pilgrim in and out of the picture. Now Wendlinger coming around the corner to turn number 10, the final one here at Mosport. And off onto the pit straight.
Boy, it is close. Just for you people at home, they are running 0.3 of a second apart now. Pilgrim has responded, and he now is slightly quicker than Wendlinger, the guy we're watching right there.
Yeah, 0.3 of
Oh, and there's a Porsche off the track. Oh, he got away with it.
0.3 of a second lap times you're talking about, not 0.3 of a second on the racetrack.
That's correct.
Yeah. That was the one of the Alex Job machines. Mike Fitzgerald and Bob Nagel, the co-drivers on that one, that had an off-course excursion. They had a spin, actually 2 spins, earlier in the race when the rain first started coming down. And you see Fitzgerald as he continues to wheel that Porsche.
What a perfect day for Alex Job. They just haven't had a wheel go wrong on this car, really.
On the other car. This is the one that's had the 2 spins.
No, I mean on the leading car.
Yeah, this is the Fitzgerald machine that had the 2 spins when the rain first started. Speaking of things going wrong, we continue to keep our eyes on this car. Ronaldo Capello in the lead Audi R8. He's up by 11 seconds on his team car. And, keeping our eyes on that little wisp every now and then we see of smoke from the left side exhaust pipe.
That is still so strange that it just seems to come out every once in a while. I don't know what would even cause that.
We've been running so long in this race now that it couldn't be anything to do with condensation or moisture building up in there.
No.
Because the engine would evaporate that if anything was getting into the exhaust system like that. So you're right, it's puzzling me, but either way, he doesn't seem to be losing any speed. He's still turning lap times that are good enough to hold much of his advantage, though his team car has been faster for a little while and is close to within 11 seconds of the lead. There's the Alex Job car that Bill was talking about a second ago that's had the perfect day. The car being driven right now by Bruno Lambert. Just not set a wheel wrong. They've led the GT class the whole race through so far.
They are perfect today.
So, watching Ronaldo Capello lead the Grand Prix of Mosport, working toward the final stages of the race. There's the leaderboard. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. Back at the Grand Prix of Mosport, working into the final stages of the event. About 21 minutes of racing left. These timed events now. So we've got about 21 minutes before the checkered flag will fall. Ronaldo Capello in the Audi R8 is your race leader. Looking back now for the second place car in the GT class. Here it comes into the picture. The BMW M3, Hans Stuck. And Boris said the co-drivers in that machine so far today really haven't been a threat to get up and take the lead away from the Alex Job Porsche, but have run up to second place in class. Now, last race at Sears Point, an apparent winning car for this team had its victory stripped in post-race tech. Steve Evans has more.
A few weeks ago, Sonoma, California, the GT story was all about fuel. The Porsches and the BMW staging an epic battle. It won for over 2 hours. Finally, the BMW M3 with Hans Stuck and Boris Said took the checkered flag, but their celebration didn't last long because the tech department said this fuel cell was just a little too big. Tom Milner, owner of this team.
Well, yes, it was sad for, we really worked very hard to be competitive with the Porsches, and after the race, our fuel tank was found to be 2 liters too large. 2 liters represents these 4 balls right here, which we use to correct the tank to its right capacity. And our bottom floor on the gas tank basically bent down, and $4.74 a piece times 4 cost us $10,000. So still, it doesn't take away from the performance of the drivers and the team. We're now competitive with the Porsche, and we will try here at Mosport to redeem ourselves.
And the larger cell had no impact on the race whatsoever. There was still lots of fuel left in it.
Ping pong balls.
Ping pong balls,
fuel tank.
The world's most expensive. These tanks, of course, are produced for a variety of different applications, and rather than have one custom built, which would be horrendously expensive, you use the size that more or less fits, and then fill it up with the blocks to take up capacity. And it's just one of those things that it failed.
Didn't make tick. Understand this car might have a problem developing on it. Hodgetook, maybe, report we're getting, has a left rear tire that might be going down on it.
Yeah, I think that's Boris in the car right now. The car has looked for a few laps like it's getting a little bit tail happy, but these cars do tend to be that way. We watched him through qualifying, and he actually gave us our in-car laps off the track, and he fought that car a lot. The tail is always sliding around. Look at how fast even this car is with the back straight. He'll be over 150 miles an hour up at the top here. Just one final little hump right there. Well, I lied. He didn't make 150.
If I thought I had a left rear tire going down, I might not be crossing that little hill without those brake lights coming on like he just did.
That's where you pull in, you give it to your co-driver and say it's your turn.
Yeah, no question. Let's get an update on some of the stories in the GT class. Martin Haven on pit lane. What do you got?
Well, guys, up to third in the GT class is one of the machines that we almost rode off earlier in the show. Dick Barber Racing's number 51 car. And Bob Wallach just saying a moment or two ago, just never count us out. They've worked their way back up into third place after Wallach, first of all, picked up a puncture. When he came in to change it, got held in the pit lane for our very first yellow flag of the race, dropped a lap, came back in to change to intermediates to drop a second lap, came back in to change to wets, pulled back one of those laps. They're now a lap and a half behind the class leader, and they're fighting to try and catch the second place car in GT. But get this, guys, we've had the fifth place car in GT come in and change to slick tires, and there's a Corvette, a Viper rather, and also one of the Reynards in the pits. We may see some slick tire gambling in the other classes too.
Oh boy, that's a big gulp right now to go out on slick tires. As long as you stay more or less on the hot line of the track, you're okay. But when you get a foot off that line, it's disaster.
Here's one of the Vipers. David Donahue's car leaving pit road. Does he have slick tires on?
We can't tell. We just cannot see from that view. As brilliant as our cameramen are, it's just not good enough to tell. Maybe Martin or Steve can let us know later on, but I would be surprised if they'd gamble with this much water on the track.
Well, that's a pit exit though. Once he gets out on the racing line, it's not going to be that wet.
No, you can see like going down 2 right there. The line basically is okay, and along here coming up into 3, that's fine. But again, to make a pass, and again, there the Audi just went deliberately offline to try and get some water onto his tires. To make a pass, you can be sure the car you are trying to pass is not going to move off the dry line for you. No way. He's going to make you go past on the wet. Well, if you're trying to outbrake somebody with slicks on the wet, it's not going to happen. That's third place overall right there. The BMW coming back in the pits, the number 42 car.
Jörg Muller actually heading back on track after visiting his pit lane. And so the tire strategies continuing to play out here as we're down to just 16 minutes left in this event. The race leader is Ronaldo Capello in the Audi R8. Will he stay out on the rain tires or come in for slicks? We'll come back to Mosport in just a minute. Back at Mosport, conditions changing like a chameleon's colors in the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix at Mosport. Started dry, had a downpour, threw the race into chaos, several early full course yellows and safety car situations, leaders changing to intermediate tires, changing to wet tires, now the track drying and beginning to see pit stops for slick tires.
Well, car
Here's the second place car.
Yeah, what did he put on now?
Let's get an update, Martin Haven.
Slick tires on the 78 car, slick tires on the 42 BMW. And you want to know the reason why Jean-Marc Goudon's been struggling for so long in the 43 car? It's been on intermediate since he took it over from Bill Orbelin, rather since he had the last pit stop after taking it over from Bill Orbelin. So no change up and coming for the 43 car, but obviously the team's gambling on at least one car on slicks here.
Now the question is, does the lead car come in and take on slick tires? There is the second place machine. Manuel Puro was just stopped. He was about 13 seconds behind the leader Capello when he came down pit road. Next time they come by the start-finish line and the telemetry records the data, we'll find out what the interval is now. There's the leader.
Well, for my money, why put them on slicks? By our timing and scoring, we're showing the Audis with perhaps a one
Look
lap
at the smoke
advantage.
again.
Yeah, that's... Well, he's only got a very short time to go, probably another 15 minutes or so in the race, but that smoke still worries me.
They've got about 13 minutes left on the clock before the checkered flag will wave. We've been seeing those wisps of smoke from time to time throughout the middle section of the race from this car. They're getting more frequent as the laps wind down and we get closer to the finish.
Now, is that 13 minutes according to your diamond-studded Rolex?
That would be according to my $5.50 cheap over-the-counter at the corner drugstore watch.
I'll say 14
time.
minutes according to my Momo here. And,
okay.
Now, what do you say with your microphone? And
watching the leader here, now he's got a decision to make. Does he come in as the racing line dries out, get the slick tires?
No, I don't think so.
What's going on with the smoke?
I don't see the reason to take a chance on running slicks, even though you're not going to go as fast running intermediates on a drying track. They've got a good enough lead that should rain happen once again, why throw it all away?
Now that he's cycled across the start-finish line, his advantage on his team car in second is now 1 minute and 2 seconds. So he's got almost a full lap.
No, and you can see him driving over the wets. Now here's a GTS battle. We're going to go back to this. There is the Corvette, and not that far behind is the big Viper that is desperately trying to keep their win streak going.
Florida's Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette trying to pull the upset. It would, I think, be an upset if the Corvette wins today, just because the Viper has basically been undefeated.
They have. I mean, they maybe have the most remarkable record I've ever seen. They've committed this American Le Mans Series. They have had a perfect record, every pole position and every win and every race fastest lap and I think every best champagne celebration and every on and on and on and on.
There you
so
see
the Corvette come in here and got a pole. What a great story.
Look at the distance from the yellow Vette back to the red Viper that was just coming into the top of the screen.
And let's see here. I show Andy just ran a 29.9 and the Viper a 30.1, so 0.2 of a second apart. But at least Pilgrim in the Corvette is stretching it out just a tiny bit.
This car lost the lead when it came down pit road for a stop, and Ron Fellows was getting out, but parked it a little farther away from the pit wall than the fuel rig could reach. They lost time jockeying the car back in so they could get the fuel hose hooked up. Gave the lead to the Viper, but then reclaimed it. Pilgrim making the pass on the racetrack and has held the top spot ever since from Carl Wendlinger, who continues to pursue him. And we continue to see smoke coming out from the back of the lead Audi, but he continues steaming along at full clip as we close in on the finish of the Grand Prix of Mosport. We'll take a break, come back for the finish in just a minute. You're watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision. "11 minutes of racing left in the Grand Prix of Mosport for the American Le Mans Series. Watching Ronaldo Capello, 35-year-old Italian, try and score the victory for the Audi team as he continues soldiering around this 2.5-mile Mosport International Raceway, getting the tires over into the water when he can. He's still on rain tires, the track beginning to dry out, and the car still is showing
he still does that.
Irritating smoke. Let's go down to pit road, Martin Haven.
Well, guys, Alan McNish is getting very, very agitated. He's not in the 77 car. His teammate Dindo Capello is now 10 seconds a lap slower on his wet weather tyres than the second place car on its dry tyres. 1:14 place, 1 minute 24 on the last lap. And that means that with just 40 seconds between them and some 10 minutes left to run with no team orders, McNish knows they're going to lose the race. And here is the problem. If they stop now for slicks, they will definitely lose the lead. Can Capello then take it back in the closing stages? Well, McNish will have no fingernails left at the end of this one, that's for sure.
Well, Martin, there was a bit of a response because that lap, Capello actually ran a 1:21, so there's 7 seconds difference. I think perhaps I'm thinking of the reason why they did go in with gamble and slicks on the second of the Audi cars, in that Leto is also on slicks. They would love to have a 1-2 finish. They have to take that gamble, I think, considering that Lato was closing very quickly as well. Lato right now
is the second place car.
Oh, no, there's the number 78 car. Well, they were pushing a little too hard, and he is stuck in the gravel.
Pirro is off, tangled up with the Porsche of Philip Collin and stuck in the gravel trap. He's getting out.
And I think he's going to go and strangle the other driver right now. Yeah. He's saying, why? Why did you do this?
Wow. Oh. The second place car is off with 9 minutes left in the race when he was catching the leader by 7 seconds a lap.
Man, if I were that other driver, I think I'd keep my helmet on right about now.
This could be a discussion. Their sportsmanship.
They're announcing their engagement right after the race.
That is sportsmanship.
Let's
take a look at what happened. This is down the straightaway, headed for turn 8, I believe.
That is unbelievable. Now, why that Porsche driver decided to do that is beyond me. Madness. He had no reason to go from the left side of the track over to the right. That's a high-speed area. The Audi would have been approaching at 175 miles an hour.
Here's another look at it.
Look at this. Great. There's no reason to do that. Absolutely nothing. You can see, look at the marks on the pavement back there. The Audi was under hard deceleration trying to avoid him. The nose of the Audi probably went right under the Porsche, lifted it off the ground. That's what's dented that rear panel right there.
You know, from looking at that, I think the Porsche saw the Audi coming and said that the left side of the track, driver's left is the line. I'm going to get offline and give it to you, but the problem is it's too late.
You never do that. You never do that. Now, the GT battle, look at Wendlinger right there. You can see the back of the Viper coming out. He's carrying his braking so deep into the corner. We saw him at the finish of the Daytona 24, a stirring performance holding off the Corvette. The Corvette tried so hard to come and beat it in the 24-hour race. This is a terrific battle.
This race has been filled with things from top to bottom. As we watch the GTS battle, let's go down to Steve Evans on pit road.
Well, Martin was talking about Alec McNish chewing his fingernails. I'll tell you, Ron Fellows and the bow tie brigade here going to need a psychiatrist in the morning. Looked at his fingernail. They're long gone. Nothing left to chew. They are so concerned about fuel. They would hope they'd get another yellow. They're not going to. But I don't think it's much different. Up at the same concerns are true there.
And we apologize for Steve's mic cutting out. Also, just want to say, sorry we don't have the onboard cameras today because the helicopter's grounded by the weather. Here is the race for the GTS lead. Wendlinger to the inside of Collins.
Oh, no, man. Andy Pilgrim just got snookered. That's all right. It's so exciting. Andy Pilgrim just got snookered there by Wendlinger up the inside. That is a place where some very dramatic passes have taken place in the past. Watch this. Pilgrim is fighting back. He is not going to give up. Andy Pilgrim is a very, very talented driver, very smart.
7 minutes to go in the race, and the GTS lead changes hands. Carl Wendlinger by Andy Pilgrim. Smoke in the tires under the brakes.
And that was great. Andy just created that himself by keeping so much pressure on Wendlinger. He drove him in so deep into that corner that Wendlinger lopped up the tires. This is a great battle. This is what the people stay to watch.
While we're watching this.
And getting loose, too.
While we're watching this, let's just mention that when the second Audi went out, you thought that took the pressure off of Capello on the rain tires, but the BMW and Muller are running 7 seconds a lap faster than the leader is. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Here he comes. Here's Capello, still on the rain tires, and Muller on the slicks, 30 seconds behind, 6 minutes to go in the race. 7 seconds a lap faster.
Do the math. Yeah, the BMW is going to catch him.
He could catch him.
Oh, my. Well, I did say that they were not invincible, and this is one of those days when it looks like they are vulnerable. This is amazing. Two dramatic stories going on here. The BMW is hauling this car in hand over fist, and he can only drive as quickly as he can. I don't think he's going to worry about that oil problem right now, even though it's continuing. The biggest problem for him is the tire situation. These tires will be slipping and sliding. The BMW is on slicks.
The BMW is taking the fast line around the racetrack. Capello has to run offline in order to try and get whatever moisture he can onto the rain tires. Here's the third place car. It's Jean-Marc Gounon in the other BMW. He is not on the lead lap, so he's not a factor to decide the win, but that is the third place running machine here.
This is a dramatic change of fortunes for BMW. All through practice and qualifying, they were really kind of glum, thinking that, well, they were out of it.
Here comes
There is the point. Look at him blinking the lights, saying, get out of the way. I'm in a hurry, guys. Let me through here. Boy, this is when you just get blood going. Now, he wants desperately to stay on that dry track. He does not want to get his slick tires onto the damp track at all.
Down the Andretti straightaway. Not very straight, but so named. And headed down for the final couple of corners here on the Mosport International Raceway lap. And Jörg Muller on the charge. We saw him in victory lane at Charlotte back in April earlier this year on NBC, trying to pull one out of the hat in the final laps at Mosport here. 4 minutes left in the race.
4 minutes left, and he is closing.
Let's check the interval as he comes to the start-finish line. 25 seconds between them. And he's running about, what does that say? Well, that lap by Capello pulled a good one out. He only got 2 seconds faster that lap, or that was just from Muller getting held up in the traffic.
I would suspect it's the traffic, because Muller had been running substantially faster. So right now that the traffic worked a little bit to help the Audi, but it is going to be really close here at the end. I'll tell you right now, the Bill Adam Award of the day is going to go to maybe the officials for not putting out a pace car for those two cars stuck in the gravel trap at the top of the straight. They could easily have thrown a pace car out and destroyed this wonderful, dramatic battle right up at the end. So thank you guys for letting us watch the race.
Capello and his teammate Alan McNish coming back from a penalty earlier. If you were not with us at the start of our coverage today, we had a false start at the top. Then this car was penalized for passing under the yellow flag, came down pit road, gave up the lead at that point, came back out, retook the lead. The rain came, the tire strategies, we have had it all. I mean, we've just had so many things happen in this race here at Mosport today, and now we're down inside the final 3 minutes.
And there's GTS battle. You can see it hasn't gone away either. That Andy Pilgrim has not been blown away by the Viper. He is staying as close as he can, pushing. And, you know, I've been watching the back end of the Viper. It seems to be really sliding a lot. And I wonder if he hasn't perhaps overheated the tires. Unlikely, yes.
Here's the spot that Pilgrim gave up the lead to Wendlinger in class. Not going to put a move on there. Remember, Steve said that there were fuel concerns on the Corvette. I would say the desire to win is so great.
Yes.
Forget the fuel conservation.
Yes.
Let's go.
I agree. You give it everything you possibly can at this point.
If you run out of fuel, you run out of fuel. That's the way it goes.
Well, this is just a great battle. You know, again, I'm so surprised. The back of the Viper seems to dance along. Oh, no, that's not going to be a pace car incident either. It looks like relatively light contact. We're down to about 2 minutes left in this race.
That's Guy Smith, the fourth place car in the radar, off into the tire barrier and getting out.
Boy, how
finish there is done.
He had such a great job going too. They were running 4th place. That was just the highlight of the year for them. But here, Andy Pilgrim, one more time down into the hairpin. Watch the Viper under braking. That looked fine that time, pretty stable. And keep in mind
pushing.
Oh boy, Andy is just, he is doing everything possible. Keep in mind this other huge battle right here. Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette is on Goodyear tires. The Viper is on Michelin's, which also have been undefeated up to this point. So this would be major bragging rights for Goodyear to finally have a tire come back that is this. In fact, they can already brag. They've done their homework, and they obviously have a very competitive tire.
Next time the leader comes back to the start-finish line, he will get the white flag. Ronaldo Capello in the Audi trying to hold off Jörg Muller in the BMW. The difference down to 11 seconds now between them. As we get set for the final lap of this event, the question is, there's the leader there. Can he hold that 11-second interval or enough of it to get back to the checkered flag?
Well, I think so. I mean, unless this oiling problem really turns out to be something horrendous, that there's just a catastrophic failure in the last lap, it looks like he has enough left, and he has responded. He's been running 120s, where Lato and Mueller are running 114s. They're much, much quicker, but 11 seconds back.
Wendlinger smoking the brakes again. Trying to carry as much speed as he can and stay in front of Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette.
Well, the Canadian race fans and marshals alike just enjoying this so much. Now watch and see the flag stand as we go underneath right. There it is. So
one lap. There's the BMW back of the frame. Wow. Did you see him? Just caught a glimpse of him.
This is great. What a
down to 4 seconds. The difference between the two. Final lap of the race. Capello on the rain tires.
And traffic
Muller
ahead.
on the slicks. Trying to make the final lap charge here at Mosport. Here he comes, back of the picture, into the traffic.
Well, this could make up for Muller. We all remember last year his day of horror at Road Atlanta, Petit Le Mans, when he went off on with just a couple of laps to go. But look how close he's getting. Oh, it's amazing. And he's got one car between. He's got to go out of the damp a little bit, but basically now he's got a clear shot.
Half a lap to go. They're at Moss Corner, turn 5 out of 10.
Oh, this is going to be so close. And look at the Audi again, looks slow off that corner. Muller is going to get him. He will get him.
down the Andretti straightaway. Final couple of corners coming up. Here comes Muller looking to find a way around Capello in the Audi. It's Audi and BMW. Now down to the final few corners as they approach turn number 8.
Under braking, look at the BMW close. He's going to pick up a lot through this corner. Now watch him to try and take the same type of passes what just happened with Wendlinger.
Here they come to the final corner.
No, he got blocked. He's going to go to the outside and take one shot of acceleration. Can he do it?
Drag race off the final turn. Here he comes to the inside. The Audi wins.
Holy man.
Ronaldo Capello. And look at McNish in the celebration. Wow.
Holy gee, what a finish. Now for the GTS.
Here they come, Wendlinger leading. Andy Pilgrim trying to find his way back around. They're on the straightaway, headed for turn number 8.
And you know where Pilgrim would love to put the pass on Wendlinger, the same spot where he got past, but I don't think so. That Viper looks like it's got loads of speed up the straight. He got a good launch off the hairpin. You see the back end dancing under braking. He went as deep as he possibly could. And he's closing a little bit.
Well, he could use the front bumper.
Oh, look how close they're getting.
Here they come, final corner, the right-hand lap car there. Here comes Pilgrim drawing up onto the back bumper. Wendlinger is going to hold on and score the victory for Dodge. Undefeated since they joined the American Le Mans Series here at Mosport 1 year ago.
Wow.
6 races in '99, now 6 in 2000, 12 for 12 for Team Viper.
And the GT battle is going to be Alex Job Racing, the same winner as last year. What a great day. Look at the celebration from the crew up there against the wall. A relatively uneventful day for them, but well deserved, guys.
Bruno Lambert and Randy Popes joined the team in victory circle, having scored the GT class win, wire to wire for them. They never gave up the division lead. And how about that Audi? What a dramatic finish.
One more lap in BMW. Well, they're going to talk about this one all night long, but what a great race.
Capello on the rain tires on the drying track.
Terrific.
Muller on the slick tires, making the all-out final corners charge, but he came up short by just a few feet. And it is the team of Capello and McNish that bring Audi back to the winner's circle. Second win in a row for that driving pair. They scored the victory last race out a couple of weeks ago at the Sears Point course in California. Here comes our winner, driving up toward the podium. Team came back from the stop-and-go penalty earlier, made the calls on tires that obviously proved to be the right ones, even though they were second-guessing them at the end.
Ah, boy, this is where the driver has his greatest risk of injury, getting batted on the head by happy crew members.
Terrific. So Audi scores the victory, despite the final laps charge by the BMW, and for Ronaldo Capello, he gets win number 2, along with his teammate Alan McNish. The helmets come off, and we get set to hear from our race winner. Down to Steve Evans in victory lane. It's all yours, Steve.
Well, all victories are sweet, but when you really have competition, when you just eke it out, Ronaldo, great show.
Thank you very much. After 15 laps to the end, I was really completely without tire. The grip was gone. And when in the last lap I saw Jorg 5 seconds behind, I said, okay, I can do it. But then I found 4 cars before the corner number 3, and it was so close. I take a big risk in the quick corner also on rain tire. The car was moving everywhere, but at the end, it's done.
It was very nicely done, and congratulations also to Alan McNish. Let's go back up to Alan Bestwick.
The other Alan. The other Alan getting the winner's trophy at this point.
Boy.
So Audi's in victory lane, the team of Capello and McNish, as we take a look at the rundown, the unofficial standings of the Grand Prix of Mosport here today at Mosport International Raceway. Audi, BMW, and then the GTS. Terrific class fight between Viper and Vet. Stay with us. We'll be right back to Mosport in just a minute.
The American Le Mans Series is brought to you by Aquafresh Whitening, safe to use every day for dazzling whiter teeth. And by Audi, creators of the Blast to Drive A4 Trio, the dashing and daringly new A6, and the revolutionary all-aluminum A8.
Back at Mosport, terrific fight right down to the finish in the GTS class with the Wendlinger Beretta team in the Viper winning out over Pilgrim and Fellows in the Corvette. And the GT class win, Alex Job Racing. Lambert and Popes, dominating performance, led all the way, wire to wire in the GT class. Let's go hear from our GTS and GT class victors. We start with Steve Evans.
And boy, are they happy, Carl. You needed slicks. If you pitted to get them, you lose. Courage drive. It really was. Very courageous.
It went very well until the end. And I think 15 laps before the end, I asked them on the radio if it's not better to put slicks because it's so dry already. And they told me when you put slicks, we lose the race. So try your best on the rain tires. And then I think compared to the other car with our Michelin tire, especially the end, when it dried more and more up, we had a still better grip. And so I could still overtake him.
Congratulations. The Viper streak stays alive, Martin Haven.
Bruno Lambert, first win of the year for Alex J Racing. You're on pole position. Did it look, was it as easy as it looked?
No, it wasn't easy. The conditions were really bad. It was really slippery. Randy did an amazing job at the start. He took a great start, bit the lead, and then we got a little help with the yellows. And when I got on the car, my job was pretty easy. I just had to stay as close as possible to the 7 car. And I think that the Porsche was amazing in the rain because I think the Michelin rain tires are really, really good. And that made our life a lot easier. At the end, it was getting pretty dry, and it was just trying to manage the situation and finish and keep it on the road.
Randy, you said that you could win this race. You said you told him that at the beginning. Why were you so confident?
At the Sears Point American Le Mans race, that crew at Alex Job Racing was adjusting the car like crazy every stop. Well, the last time they got it right. And I knew then that we're going to put the Cranium Porsche, we're going to win this race, good Lord willing, and it's been a fabulous race. The Michelin tires held up wet and dry.
Fantastic stuff from the GT field. Thank you, guys. Alan, final word to you.
And let's look at the standings from today's Grand Prix of Mosport while we get a final thought from Bill Adam.
It's just one of those days that this is going to be a race that I don't think anybody here at the track today, us included, will ever forget. Just incredibly good racing in every class.
We had everything from a false start at the very beginning of the race to penalties to the eventual winner, the 11 lead changes, 5 safety cars, the rain, the drying track conditions, the tire strategies. What a day. And it was very enjoyable by the end of it with the Audi team coming out on top, but just barely. We talked at the very top of our broadcast how they were the ones everyone was pointing at to beat. Almost didn't come true today, but they survived everything that was thrown at them and still wound up with the trophy.
They really did, and I think that shows the depth of the team where they can come back from so many different things happening to them, put on such an impressive performance, and that's something that everybody aspires to. You look at teams when they start, the amateur teams when they build up. Team Audi is the best in the world right now. That's the team to shoot for. That's the team to admire and to try and emulate.
Second straight win for McNish and Capello in the American Le Mans Series as they pop open the champagne here shortly in the winner's circle. It's been a wild day, as you can see, here in Mosport, but we enjoyed every minute of it. For Bill Adams, Steve Evans, and Martin Haven, I'm Alan Bestwick. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage of the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Mosport. The winners, Alan McNish and Ronaldo Capello in the Audi R8. Thanks for joining us. You've been watching the American Le Mans Series on Speed Vision.